Well then, okay. If I wasn't scared of the ocean before, I'm definitely scared of the ocean now. Okay, thank you. Hello, it is Monday. I was initially going to say this wasn't an episode I had much to say until the last half kicked in, and then my notes got really big again. So I was almost on target for hitting 4 pages. I'm on 8. I ended up at 8. I was going to say, this episode was turning out to be a little bit boring for me. I think I got about halfway through and I was like, this is cool, but I'd rather be watching the commissioner fight. Stuff happened. So let's take it from the top. Welcome to episode 7 of God of High School. And this episode was called Anima and Force. We opened this time on a recap from Park's speech last episode. This is the first time we've actually opened on a recap. I have noticed, and I know I've been saying it every episode, the intro scenes are changing. The intro scenes almost seem to be changing as new characters are introduced. I thought I was going crazy, but this time I've managed to note down the bits where it's changed. Jaegul and the other guy, the hoodie guy, they're now in it, so that we've seen bits of them fighting. We see Jaegul from the fight coming up. We see bits of him in this. We also see the commissioners fighting. So we see Q do his thing, which is about to also come up in this episode. At the end of that, we kind of get the trio together. I knew I wasn't going crazy. I knew the intro was changing. And it seems to be changing as new characters come into the picture. Go and that lot, all gone. They're not in the picture. Kang's not in there anymore. It's now these guys. So we enter. Already we are getting into the team fights. And so we're with North. Here we go again. Here goes. Okay, breathe in. North Cheng Cheong. And it's versus Seoul. So Seoul is where our trio is from. So we're going to find out that it's 3 bouts. So these fights will happen in 3 bouts. And the first people to get 2 wins. And we start where Mori's like, okay, this is cool. I'll do this. I'll go first kind of thing. Mira tells him to be careful. And he's like, it's okay. I've got a secret weapon. This is where I think initially I started to get bored, is because they kind of throw Mori away. So Mori gets into a position and he hits his pressure points, which we find out he's learnt from the old guy, the doctor guy from the last episode. So either he's been solo leveling or he's been doing something behind the scenes, which I guess we haven't seen. Jin suddenly goes, I can't move, I hit the wrong pressure points. And he gets absolutely mullered by this guy called, I have his name written down, Jingdang? I don't know. One of those two was right. And that's it. Yeah. Mori, the guy who we've seen so far be this immovable force from the first half of this season, he's gone. That's it, guys. Mori, gone. That's it. End. We go straight into round 2, which is Han versus, here it goes again, Jin Pum-Cam. And we find out that Jin, we're going to call him Jin because Jin Mori is out of this, so we don't need to mention Mori for a bit. Jin is 38 years old, and we find out he's the oldest high schooler in the tournament. We also kind of clarified this episode that you do need to be a high schooler to take part in this event. Jin says that it's never too late to learn. And from the sidelines, Mira tells Han that you have to win this. You can't lose. Because obviously if they lose this one, that's 2 losers immediately, and that means the team's out, gone. And we get the first cutscene. Oh, I'm so happy. The first bit which made me so happy. Last episode I told you guys that Q was creeping onto my favourite character list, and then I thought he was dead. Well, it turns out my boy ain't dead. My boy definitely ain't dead. But whilst we think my boy is dead, the gingerhead guy who's called Drake, there we go, Drake. We find out that he starts to joke about Sim dying really loudly. And he also said, I killed Sim and his wife and his child. I don't know if he killed the family. We haven't seen it. It's very dark if he did. Even though I get the feeling that this anime is going to get a little bit darker. I'm glad they didn't show it, but also it's kind of, but why? But why did you have to? Why? I'm hoping he just said it to get a rise out of Q, to be fair. So as he's laughing, we get a shot of the Joker card laying in blood, and the Joker in the card vanishes. And this is when I'm like, oh my god, he's alive! Drake's arm just goes flying off, and we hear the sound of a scythe swing, and the Joker is standing right in front of him. And this is actually our first clear look at the Joker head on. He's got some really cool elf ears. I didn't realise he had like these elf ears going on. Q unclips his watch. And this is the second time this guy's taken his limiter off. And we get a nice little scene coming up, which just really, I loved it. I loved it so much. So he stands up and he's like, would you mind shutting up now? So I guess he's been, playing dead for a little bit now. And Q just starts smoking and he walks forward and the sword within his body vanishes. And we see the watch on the floor start going level unknown, HP unknown, GP 2,500. I don't know in the sense of if that's good or not. I'm sure it probably is. But yeah, and then the last thing we hear from her is Shinder, which is just die. And then we go back into Han's match and we got these gorgeous kicks again. And Jin grabs Han and starts to swing him round like a ragdoll. And he says, this is the rice bag toss. And we kind of see this volleyball move come out of nowhere where he punches Han with his fists together, which is a bit of a volleyball. It's a serve where you put them together and you kind of like launch the ball in the air. He does this to Han and throws him ringside, where we see Han break into his stances where he goes Black Tortoise, the Vermilion Bird. He starts to bring those out. And we see that Jin's team at the bottom going, he's not going to lose. He never gave up. And then we get our flashback. I'm happy we kind of got this flashback at the same time. I feel like maybe I'm all fight out for now. The fight wasn't quite on it for me, but it's fine. This flashback's quite nice though, where we see Jin is working on a building site and we can hear the school kids mocking him. They're like, oh, he failed his school exams 3 times and he's trying to get in still. That's just, that's so funny. And the guy who's on his team, the guy that Mori was defeated by, we hear him say, you girls are in high school and you realise smoking's going to make you die young, right? And he goes up to his brother and he gives them all the reading materials. And the redhead who is standing by, she's redhead for now. I have actually got her name down, I just can't remember. I think her name's like Jang. She looks at the guy and he's like, so that's what failure looks like. I'm never going to end up like that. So we break into a kendo match between her and another girl and she loses. And she throws the sword into a wall where we get Jin pick it up. And he's like, look what you did. Are you okay? Red's like, everyone's talking about you. And he's like, I bet they are. But nothing good, right? And then she asks, how can you laugh at a time like this when everybody is laughing at you? And Jin says, because I don't want to give up on myself. I quit high school before and it's because I've given up on myself. I decided that I'd never give up on me anymore and you shouldn't give up either. I don't know. I thought that was a really nice touching scene that we are getting people's backstories. There's reasons why these people are in the fight kind of thing. It's nice to have a bit of backstory. Although I had to say, it's quite ironic that these 3 have gotten through together to this point. Got to question luck at that point. Almost like you guys lucked out for all 3 of you to get through to the finals. See, with Jin, Mori and Han, Mira and Han, they didn't know each other before. They got through and then they kind of, as they got through, they kind of got to know each other. But these guys seem to have known each other before the fight and they've then got lucky. We cut back to the fight where the guy uses his charyuk. I'm gonna hate this word. I really hate this word, guys. It's like charyuk or something. He sends Han flying back into the ring. Jin says, I have a dream. I have a dream to do work that will help people get into high school and get into schools, but I can't do that, so I'm going to use the fight to help me do this. And so we get his reason for fighting, which is quite nice. And he summons Thor's hammer. Yeah, Thor's hammer is in this. Mjolnir, where are you? Of course, I'll put a picture of that up. And I guess that makes sense because Park did say they're borrowing powers from people. So is this guy borrowing the hammer from Thor? Which is what I'm getting at. Han says something which made me kind of go, oh. I want to get stronger, so if I can get past you, I'll be taking the next step. All I've put here is, this sounds like Mori. This is a really big Mori quote. Maybe it means that Mori is starting to rub off on Han. He's learning from Mori and he sees that, you don't look at someone who's stronger than you in a negative way. You look at them as a chance to grow, which is quite nice. And he manages to stop the hammer swing, which is quite cool. And we get, Hanra. There's so many Hanra moments. I love it. Mira is cheering him on the side. Mori's with the nurse. I can't remember what her name is. The blue head nurse, because obviously he got kind of like taken out in the last fight. As this is happening, the Azura dragon comes out and we get this gorgeous blue brushstroke dragon stopping the hammer and breaking it. And I'm happy because I said during the fight with Mira that Han wasn't really red colour. Blue, to me, Han is blue, very calculated and calm. We're finally seeing blue again. Han is back in the blue, which is very nice to see because it's a very controlled, chill colour. And Han wins. And Mori kind of twists his neck as he's cheering for him. And then we get back to the fight that I really do care about. I kind of feel like the fight with Mori and the trio and the first fight was kind of almost a throwaway compared to this very important fight between the commissioners. If anything, the most important fight going on here, it's the commissioners fight. The fight with the guy in the scythe against the Drake guy. And this is the fight we see in the opening scenes, him wielding the scythe. He then cuts both arms off the ginger guy. I keep going Ginger Drake. And he says that won't work. This is my Sherry-yuke. I'm going to at some point start dubbing myself saying that. So I get it right once and then I can just cut and paste. And we see these silver threads start to sew his limbs back together. And we find out he's got a regenerative power. And we see a Caterpie. I've been playing too much Pokemon Go, guys. We see a caterpillar or a millipede. Q starts to wield his scythe. I am so happy. After this episode, Q's up in the rankings. He is just so stylish. Watching Q fight it's a pleasure. It is a pleasure to see this man fight. And he stops dead in front of Drake's nose as a sword is thrown in front of him by the blue-haired guy and the red-haired girl who are both in the cult. So we've seen these guys before. I've been calling the red-haired girl Gag Girl, but I don't feel like that's appropriate. So, fine. We kind of find out the names, but they don't actually tell us who's who. We get a cutscene. Our lollipop girl is in a nun outfit, whilst the blue-haired guy is in priest robes. And what I noticed from these fights is these guys call upon God quite a bit. So he'll go, God is with you. The guy has wings and he can fly and it's almost angelic, and she's got a cross gun. So there's a lot of religious iconology with Nox. I guess that was kind of obvious with some of the scenes we've seen so far. And then we see, obviously, Q wielding the scythe, which is very demonic of him. I'm Team Demon at this point. I'm Team Demon all the way. And then we go back into the fight where Q is like, who are you guys? Don't you understand that it's rude to walk into someone's home with your shoes on? Precisely my point, boy. I'm so excited. So Drake says Priest Exley and Priest Saturn. Pink-haired girl. Okie dokies, there we go. So, Gag Girl is Saturn. So we'll just call her Saturn. She's Sailor Saturn. Drake is the guy with the ginger hair. And the priest, the blue-haired guy, is like, what are you doing here? We were the ones who were told to kill the commissioner. Q interrupts him and he says, if you want to talk, you can do it in hell. This is what I mean. He says a lot of hellish, demonic. It's definitely like this kind of cut between hell and heaven kind of thing going on. And he throws more cards and the blue-haired guy grows some wings. And he says, national treasure, Durendal. I've heard of Durendal. Initially, I was like, isn't that the thing that Aragon uses? No, that's Durendal. It's not that. Here we go. So, Durendal is also spelled Durandal, which is the sword of Roland. He is a legendary paladin of Charlemagne, who is French. It is a legendary sword. And this kind of makes sense because I did say angelic, and Charlemagne is quite religious. So, if anything, this sword is angelic. So, I'm guessing he's getting powers from the heavenly side. I could be wrong. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna start weaving some stuff together. Apparently it's the sanctuary of the Black Virgin Mary. Again, what I said, heaven, more heaven going on. So his powers are wings and he's got the power of Durendal. And the Gag Girl, I found out your name, Saturn. Saturn summons these hands from the floor. We don't really get to find her. She doesn't really call it anything, which is, I'm guessing it is another national treasure. It could be anything at this point. It could be something from Van Helsing. I don't know, maybe. And we see Q. He's so suave. I love him. He's so stylish. And he manages to break free of this, these hands start to mummify him. And he swings his scythe and he just breaks them off like it's nothing. And then finally, O steps in. So the white-haired commissioner, O, steps in and I tracked you down because you took off your limiter. And it seems that things have gotten really lively. I love the banter between these two. I was like, you do realise the penalty for removing the limiter is 3 months unpaid, right? Add that to your other penalty. That's half a year. And you just get this, you just get the XD face. It's just that face. And Q's sad face is kind of like, half a year. And I'm just like, oh, so even they're not allowed to remove these limiters no matter what. Even if like his life is on the line, like we've seen, he's still gonna get like punished for taking off his limiter. Please, Park, spare him. Q needs money, man. Q needs to live. Although, have you guys seen Q's house? This is taking place in Q's apartment, Q's house. His house be smart, man. It's like apartment. It's top of like the building. It's got a helicopter pad. Q is living it, so I'm pretty sure he can live half a year, maybe, without pay. And then we go back to the last bout. The stuff going on with the commissioners is so much more interesting than the other fight. Like, oh, Mira, get it over and done with. I want to go back to Q. So we got Mira versus Jangan, the redhead girl. And this is going to be a sword match between girls with glasses and swords. This fight actually feels nice. This was probably my favourite out of the bout. You can kind of feel the oomph as they clacked their swords together, which is quite nice. They're both using wooden kendo swords, which is quite cool. This fight mirrors, they seem to mirror each other, so they almost, to me initially, they looked quite on par. They looked pretty evenly matched. Mira kind of goes low and smacks Jang back, and Jang says, my skills are no match for her, but I can't lose. And in my head I was going, oh, I thought you were. I thought you two were quite good together. Mira breaks Jang's sword, where then Jang goes, I'm going to use my Cherry-U. I will at some point. I'm going to like soundbite myself saying it properly. And we get this yellow cross. I'm sorry, YouTube. This is the name of a sword. I'm sorry. She goes, bastard. And bastard swords are a thing. Okay, so forgive me, YouTube. I'm just mentioning the name of a sword right here, okay? Then we jump back to Saturn. And her gun. What is with his gun? So I told you it was a cross gun. These teddy bears come out the holes in the gun and they fire pink beams from their mouth and they scream like, rah! And you're like, okay. Like, they look kind of cute, but suddenly they've got this really aggressive roar for a teddy bear. Oh summons this blob with like eyes. It almost reminded me of, very briefly, I got this Full Metal Alchemist feel with the eyes and the blobby thing. We see a massive dragon, which is flaming dragon, appear, and it is huge. It's on the side of this building. O calls it Changzik. The dragon eats the blob. The pink-haired Saturn, not really adding to the gag girl thing. Her stand is a bondage anime character. I mean, this is proper ball gag, bondage, chains, the works. I was like, if I show this, am I going to get rated? This episode's going to be interesting. There's a character in Fate, and I can't remember the Fate Stay Night name, where it's purple, and again, it's gagged and everything. And it's a angelic force. It will come to me, and I'm probably going to be correct. I'm just going to state so you guys know I'm on the right page if you guys have seen it. And then Red starts to talk. Oh my god, you have a potty mouth. You're potty mouth. Also, like, actually, quickly going back step before we go to potty mouth. O has the limiter on. So that's all I'm just going to say right now. We're seeing O pull out these insane power levels with the limiter on. So back to Miss Potty Mouth. We get you beep maggot. This time, I'm not beeping for the sake of YouTube. She beeps herself, okay? Thank you for censoring yourself, because I was going to have to do the censoring at this point. She pulls out the finger, the swearing finger, and it's all censored, which I don't know, that joke is great. I like that. Thank you for censoring yourself, Saturn dear. Even I've gone, she can talk. This is the first time we've heard her talk. Bloody hell. That's got to say, guys. And she's like, I'm going to rip your beep and shut them up your beep. And you're cool. Wasn't expecting that from a girl with pink hair wielding a gun with teddy bears. Nope, wasn't expecting that. Then CO, back to my civilized manner, guys, back to civilized territory, pulls out one of the dragon teeth, which turns into like this shimmering staff almost. It's like an electric staff. It looks so cool. And then even O's like, that's a very unique manner of speaking you have. We see O. So O is fighting the guy with the wings. Oh, that fight is so fun. We just got some really gorgeous, fun camera angles as he's fighting the guy who's flying, because they're both in the air at this point, flying around. This is my favorite bit. This is my favorite fight, I think. Sorry, Gut Trio. This is, I'm leaving it to the pros. And the music at this point, bang on, love it. Q starts to go into a finale where he summons all these cards like the blue guy. Joker appears behind him, so he almost feigns his attack. The Joker appears and he stabs him through the chest with his scythe. And then we jump back to the fight of Mira. The energy between these fights. Fight with the trio is But then the fight with the commissioners is just off the wall crazy, and it is so fun. I wanted more. I kind of would have happily just like watched that fight. We go up to Mira's fight. We see Mori eating, and he's in his little chibi form. And Chibi Han appears and gets angry. He's like, "Don't take my lunch," and start eating it. And then the nurse goes, "Aren't you too concerned about your teammate?" And Mori's like, "She's fine. You can see it in her eyes." And Han's like, "If we were to worry about her, she'd rub it in our face later." Which is, you guys are growing. The bond between you guys is just great. Mira starts to visualize that scene with Sim. Rest in peace, my boy. With when he's practicing with the branch movement, her sword snaps, and then she runs up the bastard sword. I feel bad saying. She then goes Moonlight Sword style, Wind Willow, and it snaps the sword in half, and Mira wins. So this is almost the first time where we see Mira use the Moonlight Sword style. I'm guessing this is it now. And then we go back to my commissioner fight. I wasn't that invested in the trio fight. Something about it just didn't catch me as the commissioner fight did. Maybe it's because the commissioner fight was so off the wall. So, O looking really damn stylish compared to the red girl, Saturn going, "Beep you, and take your beep with you, and you can beep yourself." We get this big giant blast. Q is so stylish. Q. So whilst the girl is fighting O, Q then decides to go ham on the blue head guy's face. See him go, "This is for you, Sim," and my heart. I'm just like, Q is Q is a good egg. I know he's a chain smoker and it's got a few issues, but Q is a good egg, guys. He really is. We see Q and O doing their big final moves kind of at the same time, where the music starts to swell and it all just gets so hype. Saturn gets hit by one of these moves and blood starts to spurt from her. Blue catches her. I guess his name is Exley. He catches her and he flies out the building, so they get away. As the O and Q are looking at each other, Ginger, Mr. Drake, who we all forgot about, goes, "You forgot about me." And Ginger used self-destruct. It was super effective. The entire building just blows up, and then we cut back to Mira and Han high-fiving, which is... we get our first proper Hanra moment. And I know I joked last episode about really hoping these to get together. You can't tell me these two are not going to get together. We get a Hanra moment where she high-fives him and walks off to go see Mori, who she's like, "You're embarrassing me," kind of clapping his head. And Han smiles looking back at her, and we get the flashback of where he beat her up, and he says, "I don't think that's ever going to happen again." We get a nice close-up of her happy face and him smiling, and I'm just like, this is it. The ship is sailing. This is it, for the first time in forever. It's beautiful. And we see the defeated team going, "It's okay, we tried, but you know what, we're not going to stop trying." So it ends in a nice happy note, unlike the fight that's about to come up, which doesn't end in a happy note. And we see an ambulance scene where Q is alive. I'm so happy. Then it jumps to the blue-haired commissioner and Park. She says, "Wasn't Q's address supposed to be top secret?" Park says, "We have a traitor amongst us. There is a bug in the tiger's belly." Last episode, I started to go, I don't trust someone. And I think Park is on it as well. I think Park has realised that somebody amongst them is a traitor, and he said exactly what I was thinking. I initially was thinking the same thing as Park was, so I'm happy to see that he did that. And then we see a picture of Jin's granddad, but his arm, just his arm, laying in a pool of blood. She says he's been taken away somewhere. And I'm like, oh dear. So Nox beat Maury's granddad. He's now armless. Dear, that took a surprising twist. Okay, so we go in already to B group, and we have our first fight. So this is taking place maybe a day later, I would say. And we've got, okay guys, breathe in, South Gyeonno Sang versus North Jeolla. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going to butcher these. The blue head spiky guy, Jagal, who I want to talk about Jagal right at the end. I've got something to say about him. He's in the first group, so he's against the other guy. We have our first fight, which is Jagal Taik versus John Juguk. It doesn't matter, he's not going to be in it very long. And we got the trio watching from the sideline. And the audience member says, "I saw that guy in a magazine. He is the heir of Sixsung's corporation. So essentially he's a rich kid and he has a maid. And he has also got a wand." Well, initially I put a wand, but it turns out he is using a baton, the type that you'd get in an orchestra. And he goes do, re, Rate me for fireball. He goes to cast this fireball, and then suddenly a tooth pierces him right through the chest. And Jake is standing there, kind of just smirking, making this really kind of demented, angry face. His stand is a shark, and it starts to eat John alive. This was brutal, absolute brutal. I won't be showing much of this because I can't. There's blood everywhere. He's getting eaten alive. This is Jaws. This is like Jaws on crack. This is super Jaws. This is like Jaws taking steroids. The maid then interrupts, and she too gets skewered by Jaws the second. Jagle says this is no place for a woman and starts to kick her repeatedly. And then we see Mira get in front of Maury because obviously the same things happened before. We don't want Maury running into the fight. And she says you can't interfere. You have to. You're going to be disqualified for sure. You are here for your own reasons to fight. And then Maury goes, cool, but what about him? And I'm like, wait, what? No! And Han is, Maury, you're rubbing off on Han in the bad way. I mean, I'm happy he stopped this brutality. But Han, you're turning into Maury. He's rubbing off on you. He interrupts and kicks Jagle. And then the referee gets in between the two, going, any more action and there will be consequences. John from the sidelines, who is pretty much beaten up, almost dead, he summons this glowing circle and he thundershocks Jagle. They're both got names beginning with J. Jagle says, I'm here with my grandfather, and a loss to someone like you will not be tolerated. Jagle dismisses the lightning, and he punches him back into Jaws the Second's mouth, and yeah, rest in peace. I think that guy is dead, guys. I just get the feeling that he's dead. He dead, man. He dead. And right, okay, so that is the episode review, but now I need to say something. It's about the voice actor for Jagle. Recently, guys, I have been playing Otome games, and I finished Ikemian Vampire, and I finished A Man Named Leonardo's Root. And I've been hearing Leo's voice quite a bit because obviously I've played through the story, I've heard his voice. Recently, I also put an anime on my list for next season called Your Eternity or To Your Eternity. And then Jagle comes up and I hear his voice and I'm like, this voice sounds really familiar. Like, he is so familiar. And I had to go and have a look because this isn't on my anime list. For some reason, I haven't got the information up. It turns out that Jagle's voice actor is none other than Kinjiro Suda. I just had to mention it because he's been cropping up so much for me right now. And yeah, so I found that just absolutely, I am just so happy to find out that he's back and I get to hear him. But at the same time, I'm sad because I don't like Jagle. From what I've seen so far, I'm not liking the guy. He seems to be a bit of an a-hole. And I'm sure at some point, hopefully Maury takes him down a peg. I'm really looking forward to that happening. So yeah, if you want to know who else he's been a lot. I mean, this guy has been in a lot. He was in Attack on Titan. He played Hane, who died as well. I'm just going to get his list here. He's been an Ace Attorney. He was Barak von Zite. He was the Atomic Samurai from One Punch Man. My Hero Academia, he played Overhaul. Vince McYunji, which is one of Sandy's brothers. He has been in a lot. Hats off to this man and his voice. His voice, to the fact that I recognised his voice. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had to gush a little bit there, guys. I'm sorry. I just needed to gush. Now that the gushing is over, I can go back and talk about what I thought about this. So this episode. This episode was a bit of a half and half, two stories with me. Yeah, so this episode, like I said, we had the fight with the trio, which I didn't quite get into. And then we kind of had the stuff with the commissioners. The stuff with the commissioners, I loved it. It is off the wall. It's manic. It's insane. We have these really fun... You get these really, really fun kind of angles and styles. And it's also really quite fun to see them using their powers finally. Getting them to see them use it. The fight, like the fact that they threw away Maury that quickly. I mean, I guess he's a bit OP and we needed to do it. It didn't quite sit with me. I don't know. It bothered me a little bit. This episode, I'm glad that this episode happened. Wasn't my all-time favourite episode so far, but the end of the episode was. I've got a lot of questions starting to build up, and I'm also very happy to watch Kenjiro as he does his thing, even though I'm not on his side in this one, sadly. So I've gone from like dating the guy to just not liking the guy very much, which is fine. I hope you guys are doing well. This is probably going to go up really late. I will do my best, and hopefully it's not too long. I didn't have too much to say until the second half started to hit, and then it all kind of went down. So yeah, I've got a lot of questions. I feel like a few things are starting to become a bit more clearer with me, which is quite cool. I will see you guys soon. Have a good day, guys, and stay cool.